Someone is talking about you right now, not to your face, behind your back, in a conversation you will never be invited to, and the information will reach you eventually, through someone who could not keep it, or through the shift in someone's energy that tells you everything before a word is spoken. It stings, even when you act like it does not, even when you tell yourself you do not care. Something about hearing that people are talking about you, people who smiled to your face, gets inside you in a way that is hard to shake. Most people respond by chasing. They try to fix the narrative. They explain themselves to people who were not looking for an explanation. They shrink themselves in public to give criticism less to grab onto. They spend days, sometimes weeks, trying to manage what other people think. And none of it works, because you cannot outrun a conversation you are not in. But here is what changes everything. The people talking about you are not really talking about you. Every single word they say about your life is a window into their own. Every judgment they pass is a confession. Every criticism reveals something about the critic that they cannot see in themselves. Once you understand what they are actually confessing, their words lose their grip completely. That is what today is about. 7 truths about people who speak badly about you. Not to make you bitter or closed off, to make you free, to give you a clarity so sharp that the next time it happens, you feel it and let it go without a second thought. Like this video, drop a comment and subscribe. Let us get into it. Type this in the comments right now and claim it as yours. I rise above their words. Truth 1. They want to be you. The first thing they are carrying is envy, but they will never call it that. They will call it concern. They will call it just being honest. They will say they are only speaking the truth, but underneath all of that is one simple thing. They want what you have built inside yourself. Your discipline, the way you follow through, the way you keep going when things are hard, the way you walk into a room and people feel it. That is not something they can buy or fake. And watching you have it reminds them that they chose a different path, a safer path, a smaller path. That comparison sits in them like a stone. It is heavy, it is daily, and instead of using it as fuel to change, they use it as a reason to tear down. Here is why that happens. Change requires admitting that you were not living at your full capacity before. And that admission is painful. It means accepting that time was lost, that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is partly your own doing. Most people cannot sit with that. It is too uncomfortable, so they find a different explanation, one that puts the problem outside themselves. You become that explanation. Your success becomes evidence of unfairness rather than effort. Your discipline becomes a judgment on their laziness rather than a personal choice you made. And criticizing you becomes a way to avoid ever having to look honestly at themselves. You cannot fix that for them, only they can. If they can make your confidence look like arrogance, your discipline looks like obsession, your wins look like luck, then the gap between your life and theirs becomes easier to live with. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He was not saying this to become bitter. He was saying it so he would not be surprised. He knew envy was a human thing, predictable, consistent, not personal. Envy does not go away as people get older. It just gets quieter and more disguised. At 20, it is open hostility. At 35, it is unsolicited advice. At 50, it sounds like worry about your choices. The packaging changes. The contents stay the same. Their pain is not yours to manage. You did not create it and you cannot fix it. Making yourself smaller so their envy hurts less is not kindness. It is giving up your growth to protect someone who would not do the same for you. Here is something people rarely say out loud. When you start growing, really growing, consistently, visibly, some of the people closest to you will be the ones who start pulling back. Not strangers, not enemies. People you trusted, people you expected to be happy for you. That is one of the hardest parts of growth. And if nobody warned you about it, it can feel like something is wrong with you, like you did something to deserve it. You did not. You just changed. And change makes people who are not changing very uncomfortable. Stay the course anyway. The people who genuinely want the best for you will still be there, and the ones who only wanted you when you were smaller, that tells you everything you need to know about what they actually wanted. Nobody talks badly about someone they see as beneath them. Nobody tears apart the person who plays small and stays quiet. They only come for the ones who are actually building something, who stand out, who chose to become something and then did the work. That is you. So, take their envy as confirmation, not as pain. Keep building, keep becoming. Let their envy follow you like a shadow. Shadows only exist because something real is standing in the light, and light does not dim itself, so shadows feel more comfortable. It just keeps shining. That is your only instruction. Keep shining. Here is something else worth understanding. Envy does not always look like hostility. Sometimes it looks like a compliment that comes with a but attached. Sometimes it looks like someone asking a lot of questions about your life and then picking apart every answer. Sometimes it looks like a person who suddenly goes quiet around you when things are going well for you. Learn to read it, not to become suspicious of everyone, but so you stop being confused by behavior that does not make sense on the surface. Once you know envy when you see it, it loses the ability to confuse you, and confusion is half of what makes it hurt. When it is clear, it is manageable. When it is clear, you can walk forward without carrying it. If this truth just hit home, put this in the comments and own it. I keep growing. Truth 2. They want what you have. Envy and jealousy are not the same thing. Envy wants to be like you. Jealousy wants what you have and hates you for having it. They are looking at your life and coveting the specific things in it: your peace, your progress, your close relationships, the opportunities that come to you, the life you built without waiting for anyone's permission. And jealousy is not quiet. People think it stays hidden, but it always finds a way out. It comes out as criticism you did not ask for, as concern that carries an edge, as pointing out problems in your success so that having it seems less valuable. The jealous person wakes up every day in a silent war with your blessings. They check what you are doing. They compare it to what they have, and that comparison is exhausting. Exhausted people say corrosive things, not to tell the truth, to release the pressure. Think about that. What they say about you is not really about you. It is about the weight they are carrying that has nothing to do with your life at all. You just happen to be visible. You just happen to be nearby. And so the weight lands on you. Once you understand that, really understand it, you stop carrying what was never yours to carry in the first place. Epictetus wrote, "Do not seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and all will be well with you." The jealous person cannot do this. They cannot accept where they are while watching you move forward. The gap is too uncomfortable to sit with quietly. So they speak, they point, they try to shrink what you have so their own situation feels less painful. Your peace bothers them because they have none. Your progress bothers them because they stopped moving. Your contentment, the real kind, not performed, is almost unbearable to someone who has not felt it in years. The hardest thing to watch is someone living a life you believe should have been yours, not because they took it from you, but because deep down you know you had the same chance and you did not take it. That is where the sharpest jealousy comes from, not from strangers who have more than you, from people who started from the same place and went a different direction. If someone in your life who knows your background, who knows where you started, who knows what you were like before, if that person is speaking badly about you now, this is probably why. They watched you change, they watched you build, and they are sitting with the reality that they could have done the same and did not. That is their story to deal with, not yours. But here is the truth. Jealousy destroys the person who carries it. They spend their mental energy on your life instead of building their own. They go to sleep calculating your wins. They wake up checking your progress. All of that time and energy gone, wasted on someone else's story. You, meanwhile, are just living. The best response to jealousy is not confrontation. It is not shrinking yourself either. It is simply continuing. Keep building the peace they resent. Keep making the progress that makes them uncomfortable, not to hurt them, because it is your life and it belongs to you. Enjoy what you have built, fully, without guilt. It cost you something real. It deserves to be lived completely. And the next time someone's jealousy reaches you, receive it for what it actually is, not an attack, a signal. A signal that what you are building has real visible value, that your life is genuinely worth noticing, that you are doing something that matters enough to affect people. Most people go through their whole lives without building anything that makes others feel something. You are not one of those people, so do not act like one. Keep building. Keep moving. Their jealousy is proof you are on the right track. Take that proof and use it. What is one thing in your life right now that you think makes people uncomfortable? Drop it below. Truth 3. They lack the courage you showed. This one cuts deeper. At some point you made a move that required real courage. You left something that was comfortable but killing you. You started something with no guarantee. You walked away from a situation everyone expected you to stay in. You chose your own path when the people around you did not understand it. And some of the people talking about you right now, they thought about doing the same thing. They planned it. They almost did it, but they did not. The moment passed. Life went back to normal. They stayed. Watching you do what they could not is not inspiring to them, it is accusing. Your move is a mirror showing them exactly where they chose to stop. And that mirror is hard to look at. So, they do not look at it. They criticize your path instead. They find the problems in your decision. They build a case for why you were wrong. Not because you were wrong, but because if you were, their decision to stay starts to look like wisdom instead of fear. This is not a conscious plan most of the time. They are not sitting down and working through the logic. It just feels good to criticize you. It relieves something, and when something relieves internal pressure, people do it again and again without asking why. But you can see the why, and once you see it, you stop taking the criticism personally. It is just pressure looking for a release valve, nothing more than that. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." They made everything harder for themselves by not moving. Every day they stood still, the gap grew, and somewhere underneath their words is the awareness that their own choices are compounding in the wrong direction. Courage is not the absence of fear. You were afraid too. You felt the risk. You saw what could go wrong. You moved anyway. That is the only difference between you and the critic. Not talent, not luck. Just the decision to move when fear was present. And that decision compounds. Every time you move through fear, it gets slightly easier. Not because fear disappears, but because your track record with it grows. You have proof now, personal, lived, undeniable proof, that you can walk through hard things and come out on the other side. That proof is yours, and nobody can take it from you. The person who did not move has no such proof. They have only the memory of the moment they stayed still. And that memory does not get easier with time, it gets heavier. So, they talk about your choices because it is easier than sitting with their own. You owe them nothing. No explanation of your thinking, no softening of your story, no downplaying of what it cost you or what it gave you. You walked through something real, own all of it. The person criticizing you from the sideline almost always wishes they had done what you did. The sideline is full of people who planned the journey and never took a step. You are on the road. That is exactly where you belong. One more thing. The person on the sideline is not your enemy. They are just someone who let fear win at a moment when they had the chance to choose differently. That is a painful thing to live with. And their criticism of your path is that pain coming out sideways. You do not have to carry it for them. But understanding it means you can walk past their words without stopping to pick them up. The road you are on is yours. Walk it. Let the distance between where you are going and where they stayed tell the whole story. It will. Time always tells it. If you chose the road over the sideline, drop this below and stand behind it. I moved forward. Truth 4. They are projecting their own pain. This is the most important truth in this entire video. Once you really understand this one, not just hear it, but actually get it, nothing anyone says about you will land the same way again. The people who speak most harshly about others are carrying the most unprocessed pain. The cruelest words come from the most wounded places. The sharpest criticism comes from someone fighting a private battle they have not told anyone about. They are not describing you. They are narrating their own war and putting your name on it. The person who calls you arrogant was almost certainly told their own confidence was arrogance by someone who mattered to them early in life in a way that left a mark. The person who says you think you are better than everyone has spent years feeling like less than everyone around them. The person who says you got lucky stopped believing they could earn good things. They have not looked honestly at their own life, not because they are bad people, because it hurts, because sitting with your own choices and seeing clearly what you have and have not done is one of the most uncomfortable things a person can do. So that pain builds. It does not disappear by being ignored. It finds a way out. It comes out in their relationships, in how they talk online, in the way they treat people whose lives give them a surface to project onto. You became that surface, not because you did something wrong, because you were close enough and visible enough to receive what they could not hold inside. Think about the people in your life who speak the most harshly about others, not just about you, about everyone, about co-workers, about family, about people in the news. There is usually something consistent about them, a heaviness they carry, a frustration that seems to sit just below the surface of every conversation. That heaviness is not about anyone they are criticizing. It is about themselves, about something they have not dealt with, about a gap between who they are and who they know they could be if they were willing to do the hard work. You are not that gap. You are just the nearest wall when they need somewhere to project it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change." That is someone who has done the inner work. Someone honest enough with themselves to receive feedback without falling apart. The people projecting their pain onto you are not there yet. They are still protecting themselves from a mirror they refuse to look into. Understanding this does not mean excusing it. Their words can still hurt. Misdirected criticism still lands, but knowing the source changes everything. When you recognize projection, you stop taking the words as truth about you. You start seeing them as information about the person saying them. And from that place, you can either feel compassion or simply detach. Either one is better than absorbing their wound as if it were yours. Their pain belongs to them. Your peace belongs to you. Those are two separate things. Keep them that way. And when you genuinely feel compassion for them, not forced, not performed, but real, that is how you know this truth has fully landed. Because real compassion in the face of someone's projection means you understood it completely. It means their wound did not become yours. You received what they sent and let it pass without absorbing any of it. That is not easy. It takes time. But it is possible. And every time it happens, you come out of the situation lighter than you went in. Stay open. Stay clear. Stay focused on what you are building. That is the complete answer. One more thing about projection. When you carry this truth with you, it changes how you speak about others too, because you start to notice when you are the one projecting. When a comment you are about to make says more about what you are carrying than about the person you are commenting on. That awareness is valuable. It makes you someone who speaks more carefully, more honestly, someone who does not use other people's lives as a surface for their own frustration. And that kind of person, the one who has done enough inner work to know the difference, is exactly who you want to be. The truth works both ways. Use it both ways. If you are choosing your peace over their projection, write this in the comments and mean every word. My peace wins. Truth 5. They need your reaction to feel powerful. Here is something most people learn too late. The person who spoke badly about you is not done. They said their words. Now they are waiting, watching for one specific thing, your reaction. Words without a reaction are just noise. They dissolve. They mean nothing. But a visible emotional reaction transforms those words into power. It tells the person who said them that they got through, that they matter, that they can affect how you feel. And that is exactly what they were looking for. Some people do not even realize this is what they want, but some do. They craft the words carefully. They pick the angle most likely to reach you. They choose the timing, and then they watch. When you defend yourself loudly, they win. When you post about it, they win. When you go to mutual people to clear your name, when you spend days managing the fallout, when it changes your mood or your output, they win. You made them the center of a story that should have ended when they opened their mouth. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." The opinion of someone who does not know your full story, who has not paid what you paid, who has not walked where you walked. That opinion has as much power over you as you decide to give it. Nothing more. Give it nothing. And this is harder than it sounds, especially the first time someone says something that is genuinely unfair, genuinely untrue, genuinely designed to damage how others see you. Every instinct says respond, correct it, make people see the truth. But here is the problem with correcting false narratives publicly. When you step in to defend yourself, you give the accusation legs. People who never heard it before now hear it. Through your defense, you become the one keeping it alive. And the person who made the claim gets exactly what they wanted: attention, engagement, a reaction that confirms they have some power over your state of mind. Stay out of it. Let it sit. Often, false things dissolve on their own when nobody feeds them. Silence is not weakness. Silence to the right person at the right time is the most precise response available. It gives them nothing to work with, nothing to point at, nothing to escalate from, and it tells every person watching exactly who you are under pressure. Someone who cannot be moved by noise. Here is what happens over time when you consistently do not react. People test you and get nothing back. They bait you and you keep moving. Eventually the tests stop. The provocations get quieter because there is no reward, and behavior that produces no reward dies on its own. Your silence is not one moment. It is a message you send over time, a message about who you are, and that message, sent quietly, consistently, changes how people choose to engage with you. Do not give them the reaction. Give them silence, and let the silence do the work. This takes practice. The first few times someone says something designed to get to you and you stay quiet, it feels uncomfortable, like you are letting them win. Like not responding means they were right. They were not right. You just refused to play the game. And refusing to play is always the stronger position. Over time, that discomfort fades, and what replaces it is something solid. A kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are not at the mercy of anyone's words, that your peace is yours to keep or give away, and you chose to keep it. That is real power, the kind nobody can take from you. If you are done fueling their fire with your reaction, drop this in the comments. Silence is power. Truth 6. Their words reveal their character, not yours. Every word someone says about another person tells you more about the speaker than the subject. This is one of those things that is easy to agree with in theory and hard to remember in the moment when someone is saying something about you that is not true. In that moment, the instinct is to think about what it says about you, whether people will believe it, whether it will stick. Flip the focus every time. What does this say about the person saying it? When someone speaks badly about you, they are not presenting a fact about your character. They are presenting a fact about theirs. They are showing you how they handle difficulty, what they do when they feel threatened, who they are when nobody is asking them to be their best self. People who have genuinely done the work on themselves do not tear others down. Not because they see no flaws in others. They do, we all do. But because they know that pulling someone else apart in public is beneath who they want to be. When someone tears into you without guilt, without hesitation, without any sign that they know what they are revealing, they are handing you a full picture of where they are in their own growth. Not a threat. Information. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The person focused on being good does not have time for pulling others apart. That is an activity for people who are not busy enough building themselves. Next time someone speaks badly about you, ask one question. Not what does this say about me? Ask what does this say about them? What must be going on inside someone for this to be the thing they chose to say? What are they carrying? What are they avoiding? Almost always the answer is something small, something sad, something that has very little to do with you and everything to do with where they are. Their words are a window into their world, not yours. Once you see it that way, the words stop landing as attacks. They become information. And once you have the information, you can put it down and move on without it weighing anything. Your character is not built in what people say about you. It is built in what you do when nobody is watching. In the gap between what you say and what you do. In the private decisions that nobody sees but that shape who you are day after day. No comment changes that. Your character belongs entirely to you. One practical test. Ask yourself, does the person criticizing me have the life or character I actually respect? Would I go to them for advice on something that mattered? If the answer is no, their opinion carries no real weight. Let it go without another hour of your energy. Save your honest self-examination for the people who have actually earned the right to give you feedback. The people who know you, who want the best for you, who tell you hard truths because they care, not because they are hurting. Those people exist in your life too. Their words are worth sitting with. Everyone else gets silence and continued forward movement. That is not arrogance. That is discernment. And discernment about whose voice deserves space in your head is one of the most important things you will ever build. When you master this, when you genuinely know whose opinion matters and whose does not, you stop living in reaction to what people say. You start living in alignment with what you actually value, and that shift from reactive to intentional changes the texture of your whole life. You become calmer, harder to disturb, more consistent, more present in the moments that matter. Because you are no longer pulling energy from those moments to manage what somebody somewhere might be saying about you. That energy belongs to your life. Bring it back there. Here is a practical way to use this truth. The next time someone says something negative about you, before you do anything else, pause and ask one question. Would I trade lives with this person? If the answer is no, their judgment of your life carries no authority. You can acknowledge it happened and move on without another minute spent on it. Simple, direct, effective. That is the filter. If you know your character needs no defense, write this below and stand on it. Actions define me. Truth 7. Your focus is your greatest revenge. This is where everything lands. The most powerful response to everyone who has ever spoken badly about you is not a comeback, it is not a correction, it is not proving them wrong in public, it is your focus, your relentless, daily, undistracted commitment to building the life you came here to build. Not a commitment you make once and forget, a commitment you renew every morning, every time you sit down to work, every time something tries to pull your attention away from what matters. That renewal, daily, quiet, without fanfare, is the discipline underneath the aura. People see the results and think it is talent. They see the confidence and think it is personality. But the real thing underneath all of it is the decision, made again and again, to stay focused on what you are building no matter what is happening around you. That is the practice. Simple. Not easy, but simple. Because here is what time does. It does not lie. It does not take sides. A year from now, the person who talked about you is in the same place, still watching your life, still measuring themselves against you because they have not built enough of their own to measure differently. And you moved, you built, you became more than you were when they started talking, not because you planned anything against them, because you kept going while they stood still. That is it. That is the whole story. Seneca wrote, "Vindica te tibi." Claim yourself for yourself. Claim your time, your energy, your attention, your peace. Take all of it back from the noise and point it at your purpose. Do not let the words of people who are building nothing steal the energy of someone who is building everything. People who are genuinely focused on their own growth do not have time to pull others apart. That is not inspiration, it is just the practical reality of what focus does to your attention. When you have real work that requires you every day, you do not have space to monitor someone else's life. The people talking about you have that space. They have the available time and attention because they are not using it for anything that requires them to show up fully. That is not power. That is emptiness pointed in your direction. Do not react. Do not shrink. Do not spend your best hours defending your life to people who decided what they thought before you spoke. Just build, quietly, consistently, without announcement. There is a version of revenge that people talk about, the public kind, where you prove someone wrong in front of everyone who heard what they said. That version feels satisfying to think about. But it almost never happens the way you picture it, and chasing it keeps you tied to the person who hurt you longer than anything else. The real version, the one that actually works, happens when you stop thinking about them altogether. When you are so absorbed in what you are building that you genuinely forget they said anything. When someone brings it up later and you have to think for a second to even remember what the situation was. That is not weakness. That is what full investment in your own life looks like. The people who hurt you most want to live in your head. They want your mental real estate. They want to be the thing you think about when you wake up, the thing you are still processing before you go to sleep. Do not give them that. Give that space to your goals, to your people, to the things that deserve your best thinking. Your mind is your most valuable resource. What you allow to live inside it shapes everything you do. Choose carefully what gets space there. Build so steadily that the only thing left for anyone to say about you is that you never stopped. The win is not at the finish line. The win is the choice you made today. The moment you chose your work over their opinion, you already won. The moment your energy went into building instead of defending, you already won. Every morning you choose your purpose over their noise, you win again. Over time, the noise becomes background. Not because it stops, but because what you are building becomes louder, more real, more yours. And nothing from outside can compete with that. Their life is over there. Yours is here. Build it. And when you are deep in the building, When you are in a season of real focus and real progress, something interesting happens with the noise. It does not necessarily get quieter, but your relationship to it changes. It stops touching you the same way. It starts to feel distant, like something happening in a different room. That is not indifference. That is what it looks like when your internal world is so full of purpose that there is simply no gap left for noise to fill. Your goals take up space. Your work takes up space. The people you love take up space. And the voices that used to reach you and stay, they pass through instead. That is the destination. Not a place where nobody talks about you. A place where it genuinely does not matter when they do. You get there the same way you get anywhere. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one decision to focus instead of react, to build instead of defend, to keep moving instead of stopping to argue with people who are standing still. Keep making those choices. The rest takes care of itself. And here is what nobody tells you about focus. It is not just a strategy, it is a form of self-respect. Every time you choose your work over their words, you are telling yourself, what I am building matters more than what they are saying. And the more times you tell yourself that through action, the more deeply you believe it. That belief changes everything. How you carry yourself, how you respond to difficulty, how quickly you recover when something goes wrong. Because underneath it all is a person who is no longer waiting for permission or validation from outside, a person who is too busy building to be stopped by words. That person is who you are becoming. Every day you choose focus over noise, you get a little closer. Stay the course. The results will come. They always do for people who do not quit. What is the one thing you are going to stay focused on, no matter what anyone says? Drop it in the comments right now. Now here's the important truth. 7 truths, 1 message. The people who speak badly about you are always carrying something: envy, jealousy, unexpressed cowardice, pain they have not dealt with, a need for your reaction, a character that shows itself through how it treats others, and an empty life that monitors yours because it has not committed to building its own. None of that is about you. Every single part of it is about where they are and what they are avoiding. You have a choice every time it happens, and it will keep happening. The more you grow, the more visible you become. The more visible you become, the more people who are not growing will have something to say about it. That is just how it works. Growth creates noise. So the choice is not a one-time thing. It is something you make every time the information reaches you, and every time you make it in the direction of your own growth, it gets a little easier. Not because the noise gets quieter, because you get stronger. You can spend your energy managing their perception, defending your name, explaining your choices to people who already decided what they think. Or you can spend that same energy on the only thing that actually changes your life, your work, your growth, your becoming. That choice, made consistently, is what builds the kind of life that eventually speaks for itself. Here is something worth sitting with. Most people who speak badly about you will eventually stop. Not because you confronted them, not because you proved them wrong, but because you kept building and they got tired of watching. Or life moved them somewhere else, or they found someone new to focus on. People who live in other people's stories rarely stay in one story for long, but you will still be building, you will still be growing, you will still be becoming the version of yourself you committed to. And that version, built through criticism, through noise, through the hard choice of focus over reaction, that version is stronger than the one that would have existed in quiet, comfortable, unchallenged peace. The friction made you harder. The noise made your focus sharper. The criticism made you clearer about what actually matters. They did not know it, but they helped you. The critics will either witness your growth or they will not. Either way, your job stays the same. Show up, do the work, build the next thing. Let your life make the argument that needs no words. I want to say one final thing directly to you. There will be days when this is hard. When something reaches you and it lands deeper than you expected. When the person who said it is someone you cared about and the words carry more weight because of that. When you feel the pull to respond, to defend, to make it stop. On those days, come back to these truths, not as comfort, as reminders of what is actually happening, because the hurt is real, but the meaning you attach to it does not have to be. You get to decide what the words mean about you. And the answer, every single time, is nothing. They mean nothing about you. They mean something about the person who said them, about where they are and what they are carrying. And you have places to be, things to build, a life to live. Get back to it. Keep going, keep growing, keep shining. And on the days when it is hard, when the words reach you and they land deeper than you expected, remember this. The fact that you felt it does not mean it was true. It means you are human. Feel it, process it, then put it down and get back to work. The work is the answer. It is always the answer. Because the moment they are obsessing over your life while you are focused on your purpose, you have already won. The critics do not get a chapter in your story, they get a footnote, and footnotes do not define the book. Your work defines it, your consistency defines it. The life you built while they were talking, that is the book. Write it well. If this hit something real, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe. Leave a comment telling me which truth hit you hardest. I read everyone. I will see you in the next one.